The hottest political race in Colorado right now, the contest to be Colorado's next governor. Current Lieutenant Governor Donna Lynne is one of the latest to join, and she sat down with Nicole Brady to discuss how she made her decision.
Thank you, Ann. I am joined here in studio with Donna Lynne here. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor.
Welcome, Nicole.
You've been here as Lieutenant Governor for about a year and a half now, and when you first took this position, you weren't necessarily thinking of running for governor and moving on to that position. What changed?
I think what changed is the experience I've had as Lieutenant Governor and Chief Operating Officer for the state. It's complicated, it's tough. I love those kinds of challenges. The other thing is I've had the opportunity to visit all 64 counties and meet state employees, county commissioners, mayors, small business people, and I've brought back a message of the things that need to be done, and I think I'm ready for the challenge.
Did you not feel prepared before that to necessarily lead a state? What do you think qualifies you among this large pool of candidates that we have right now to be our next governor?
Well, I think the state of Colorado is a pretty complicated organization. It is a $30 billion organization with 31,000 employees. I've worked in large organizations my whole life, both in the public sector for 20 years and then in the private sector. And I think it's complicated, and it requires some managerial experience and a focus on what the vision is, but really the ability to get things done.
What do you think will separate you from our current governor, Hickenlooper? Obviously, he supports you becoming his successor here. Will you continue in the path he set, or what would you do maybe a little bit different?
Well, first, I think we have a great economy, as everyone knows. We have 2.4% unemployment, and when the governor took office, it was 9%. So a jobs economy is something he's done. I would obviously continue to focus on. But we are going to have some additional challenges. Our population's growing, our roads are crowded, and healthcare, in spite of some great efforts, continues to become unaffordable. And I will work very hard on that, and my background as a healthcare executive is going to be invaluable.
Yeah, healthcare obviously is going to be a big issue. We could see more of it in the hands of the states. Do you have any specific plans right now for things you would do?
Well, first, we've done a great job controlling our costs in Colorado, but I think we have to be very careful of what might still happen in Washington that we're going to have to defend ourselves against. And we have a really low rate of uninsured in Colorado, which is a great thing for everybody. I want to see that everybody in Colorado, every single person, has health insurance, however.
It's interesting to look at when Governor Hickenlooper took office and the national political climate then versus what you're stepping into possibly now, and how different it is. And certainly you wouldn't want to be a governor who comes into office at a time of a great prosperity for Colorado and then see things change, which they could just because of the way life works and national politics work. What would you do to make sure that all Coloradans continue to benefit, even though we are seeing kind of a two sides state here, where we have a lot of people making a lot of money, but a lot of people who can't afford housing, and a lot of people who are being left behind?
I think it's important to have that dialogue. I clearly have seen throughout Colorado a difference between the Front Range and other parts of the state, and we've got to focus on that, whether it's on education in those areas, it's on jobs, it's on our environment. So making sure that, as you say, all Coloradans have the same quality of life and standard of living. We've got to deal with the fact that in spite of low unemployment, a lot of people's wages are not keeping up with the cost of living, whether that's housing or that's health care. And those are two things I really want to work on.
Absolutely. It's going to be a pretty crowded field, as we've talked about, on the Democratic and Republican side. What do you think about going into this against your fellow Democrats? What do you bring to the table that they don't?
I think first and foremost, I'm the Lieutenant Governor and Chief Operating Officer for the state. It'll be almost 3 years by the time January of 2019 rolls around. It is a complicated state, and it's intricate. And every day I'm on the front line of making decisions, of driving change, and I think that is a prerequisite for being able to do this job.
So more experience, definitely. I mean, do you see this becoming a spirited debate with your fellow Democrats about the future of this state?
I think it's going to be important for all of us to articulate a vision, but also to articulate the plan to get the vision done. It's not just about big ideas. It's got to be about the reality of the state we live in, with 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliateds? And what can we actually get our voters to understand and commit to doing with us together?
Governor Hickenlooper, as many people may have learned recently, has one of the lowest salaries or the lowest salary of any governor in the country, $90,000 a year. A lot of people in a recent investigative report we did were surprised to learn that. Do you think that the governor's salary should be higher?
I think most people who come into public service come into it because of a passion about serving. That's what I have. And the salary could be adjusted. I don't think it's the biggest issue that we're facing as a state. And we got a great governor who was willing to take a $90,000 salary. I feel the same way. It's not about money. It is about caring for the state that we live in.
All right. Anything else you think maybe voters don't know about you already? I got to see you at all these women's events with the Women's Chamber of Commerce, and you talk a lot about your experience. I mean, what a difference when you first started working for women, and now there are still only 6 women governors currently in our country.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think it's important for anybody to lead, male or woman, and deal with some of the equity issues that we have, whether it's about gender, it's about diversity. All Americans, all Coloradans ought to have the same level of benefits and opportunity. I think the one thing the voters and the public ought to know about me is my tenacity. I started climbing all the 14ers in Colorado. I fell in love with the state when I moved here, and I got them all done in 6 years. So that's quite an accomplishment, and it also allows you to get to know the state very well.
Just by getting out and climbing those mountains. Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor Donna Lynne. She'll be one of the candidates we'll be hearing from a lot in the coming months leading into this campaign. Ann.
Thank you. And stay with us. We're talking about the connection between faith and violence when we come back.